So, I don't know if you know, but you can actually order your passport online as well as in the post. But a recent BBC investigation has said that the UK passport photo check-in services is showing a racial bias against dark-skinned women, with this group twice as likely to have their photographs rejected online in comparison to light-skinned or white men. Now, this is not the only example that we have of artificial intelligence or AI showing racial bias. For many of us within our communities, we've worried about people or systematic biases, but now we're starting to see, with the rise of AI technologies in everyday life, that this problem could just be getting worse and migrating online. So I wanted to know, how and why did machines become racist, if they are, and what, if anything, can we do about it?
Machines can have a bias because they work off the data that humans feed them. So, if you're teaching a machine to recognize a face, you give it a training set of all these different types of faces. But what a lot of the researchers have found is that the faces will be they'll be very white and they'll be very male by majority. So that
Look
means
at you being
women...
politically correct today, Luanda.
What did I say that was politically correct?
You're just not standing on their neck today. I thought you were just like, but you're just like the white males.
I'm warming up to it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So the data will be very, very white and very male, which means that women and people of color, and therefore especially highly melanated women, will be less easy to read. And like you said, this can be something as frustrating as trying to upload a passport photo, but actually it can get a little bit more dangerous than that, because I read an article that talks about self-driving cars. And when they tested for the pedestrian acknowledgement in these cars, they found that they were less likely to pick up darker skin. So that just goes into road safety, in terms of if you have a car using artificial intelligence trying not to knock people over, and it's not going to pick up brown and dark skinned people. I just think that's a bit ridiculous. You shouldn't have those cars on the road. But
with those cars, though, what I don't understand is, are people really just not thinking about anybody outside of themselves? When I read that as well, in terms of it wasn't actually tested on any black or brown people. They only tested the motor car or the electric car on white people. I'm like, what are we thinking here? That we only live in a world of white people?
For real.
It just baffles me. Honestly.
Yeah. But actually, some people found they realized in terms of, I don't remember if this was in terms of facial recognition or in terms of, actually they're both facial recognition. So they realized that it was less likely to pick up black and brown faces, and they were like, it's good enough. So the problem was actually recognized and dismissed for the time being. Yeah, exactly. And it actually, in terms of artificial intelligence having bias, it actually falls into words as well, because there's a machine learning system, machine training system that is kind of it's kind of like word association or predicted text, when you're writing an email and it kind of writes it for you. So basically the computers have learned to what did I already say word association? Yeah, I did.
Yes.
The computers they've learned to associate certain words with certain other words, and what that has meant for us is that European names have been associated with positive words and African names have been associated with negative words. So when you're applying for jobs online and the machines are filtering CVs, you're actually more likely to be called into an interview if you have a European sounding name. And we know as black and brown people already that there were already humans that were physically holding your CV, seeing that it said Sanjay and not Sam, and throwing it in the bin. And so now it's translating onto the computers, because like I said, if there is a fault in the machine, the fault lies within the humans, because the humans are making the machine, And
I think, I just want to come in and talk about that CV thing really quickly, because when I was reading about this, honestly, guys, I was scared to death, because as a society, and I've said it before, we trust machines and systems so much more. So when we've talked about racial biases before in terms of jobs, we're saying you need to put systems in place and you need to have something that's checking CVs so that you can take out the bias and they're not looking at names. But the whole point is these systems are now biased because the people who are putting them together, not saying that they're racist, but they might have a bias that they're not even aware of. And now we're trying to say, let the systems check the CVs, let the system check who should get housing, let the system check who should get medical care, let the system check who should be released from prison. But these systems are being created by people who have racial biases. It just makes me very scared for where we're going, because not only now, people are going to be like, well, it's completely fair that you didn't get the job because the system, which is impartial.
It was a computer.
Decided that. Exactly.
Computer
and that's
said
why,
no, not my fault.
Exactly. So that's why I think this is such a scary thing that is happening.
I think it's very scary. I'm not 100% truster of techie because, you know, technology has failed me way too many times, and algorithms I've seen do some very crazy things. I'm not even just talking on Instagram, just some wild things, just like this just doesn't even make any sense. So I think, what do we do about it? It's kind of like what you said, Sophie, like, even though there's lots of systems, there's somebody at the ground level making that system. And so the person who is putting that system together, I think that's where we have to think, okay, I know we say it all the time, but where diversity has to come into play, and that people at that level have to be diverse, or even thinking diversity without an unconscious bias, so that they can get all the data that covers everyone. Now, I want to tell a little story. I can't say for sure if this technology was being racist to me or if it was a racial bias, but it was very weird. And I remember noting this down, saying it was weird, full stop. A couple of years ago, as I said on the show, I was in Japan for some time. And now Japan is like the vending machine capital. There are vending machines everywhere, and it's like, it's not even like as frequent as corner shops. It's more than corner shops. You could be in the suburb areas and literally at the end of a drive there's a vending machine. The vending machine has everything from toothbrushes to hot chocolates in cans and noodles, and you can get everything you need in the vending machine. It's just everywhere. So I got used to using all the vending machines because I could get everything I wanted. It was cool. I was at the train station, and there was this vending machine. It was a drink vending machine, but it was a vending machine that would choose the drink based on your face. So what it did was it would scan your face, and then it would recommend what drink you should have from the vending machine depending on what you looked like, right?
What on earth was it basing that on?
I don't know. It just scanned your face. So I was there with another colleague who was a person. Yes, I was there with another colleague who was a person of colour, but was very fair-skinned compared to me. So he did it first, and he just got like some regular like green energy drink. So I was thinking, okay, it's my time. I rock up there, get my scan, and it offered me this. It was like a very dark brown colour, and it was called a red bean drink, and then it was like some other kind of dark coffee thing, but both of the drinks were the darkest drinks in the actual vending machine. And I thought to myself, none of what I think my face is serving is red bean or coffee. So I was confused as to why I was recommended those drinks. So I remember saying, well, that was weird. That was weird. And so
I think that was definitely down to race.
Yes. So 100%. Now that we started thinking about technology and racial bias, I thought to myself, you know what? I think that was definitely what happened to me and the face scanning vending machine. Lo and behold, I decided to choose a lemon drink and bypass all the
Well, do you know what, Anissa? I'm glad you were able to override that system, because that sounded like it was going to end very sadly.
Did you have to get a white friend to select it for you?
No, you can either choose their recommendations once they've scanned you, or you get to choose your own
Sarah,
drink. So I choose the lemon.
Sarah, oh my days. Look, I feel like the thing is,
that was
we
weird.
can laugh about these things that happened in Japan, because that is funny and it's an entertaining story. But when you think about these facial recognition systems are being used on streets at the moment to identify people, and they're saying that the rates at which, was it 93% of the technology that they're using at the moment to recognize faces by the Metropolitan Police, is 90% incorrect. The facial recognition system, 93% of it is incorrect. And this guy was writing in The Guardian.
Why
he was
are
like,
we
we
using
need to
something that's
stop.
93%
Exactly.
incorrect?
He was like, we need to stop it
Who
all.
signed off on this?
Exactly. And he was saying, this is ridiculous. Like, we need to stop this right now, because the point is, these machines, they said some of them can't even pick up dark-skinned faces. And I was they were saying that they want to use some of these bots. So, you know, when they have drones that will go and like kill people in other countries, or they say, oh, it's going to kill the terrorists. They were saying the AIs that they're using can pick up a white face or a white person's face within 1% if they have no beard. Think about that. So they're saying, we're trying to catch people. And in The Guardian, he specifically said, so if it's picking up a white person with no beard, up to 1%, if it's someone with darker skin, which they know they can't pick up that well, and these people have beards because of their culture, and we're now saying we're going to send over some AI to go and kill them because they're a terrorist, they're like, how do we even know we're getting the right person? And for me, again, it's just scary because Silicon Valley, they're saying Silicon Valley is the tech innovation center of the world. And they said, I think in 2016, they did a study and they said, out of all of the companies, none of them had black women hired. Three of them didn't have black people whatsoever. And these people are leading tech and AI innovation, but they don't have anybody diverse on their team. And where are we all going? Like, what is this going to mean for our black communities? Guys, I can tell you, I'm extremely worried about it, because they said we are they said in the future, they're saying like 93% of transactions, human transactions, are going to be AI based. It's going to be AI underneath running the systems. So, and this
I'm not ready for that Black Mirror episode.
So what then?
I think an important thing to like note as well, because you know we just talked about vending machines that can recognize our face, and we talked about self-driving cars and all that, and it makes it seem a little bit futuristic, a little bit rare, when if the reality is that if you use technology, you are most likely using artificial intelligence every 100%. Single day. Like when you log onto Facebook and you see those same 7 friends, even though you've technically accepted friend requests from hundreds of people, but you'll see them save 7 people. If you use Siri, them algorithms. If you use Siri or Alexa or Google Maps or banking, because they will keep track of your transactions and, you know, message you if something looks suspicious. I had a friend who got a message from her bank because she spent money for the first time in a really long time. And they were like, this doesn't add up. Even when it comes to shopping, because, you know, obviously they keep track of the things that we like, and they keep track of the things that people like us like, and people in our area like. Amazon, this is so interesting to me. Amazon have actually gotten so confident that they're doing something called anticipatory shipping, where they predict the things that you will buy in the future and ship them to your area in anticipation of you getting them in a couple of months or a couple of years. And it's been working. Gosh. Like, that. Do you know what? Is petrifying to me.
If you guys haven't watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix, what's The Social Dilemma? Because it talks about the fact that they're like, if you feel like you're running your life, if you think that you're buying the things that you're buying without some sort of suggestion, they're like, you are extremely wrong. Like, these systems are getting it within like, if you have a phone, they're collecting all your data. They're like, if you're using a chess game on your phone, they went, it's AI. They're like, so when you're using voice recognition, it's AI. So people need to think like, oh, I don't sign up to things and I don't click on cookies. No, bruv, we're on the grid. We're all on the grid.
This is very scary.
And we need to be thinking about how this is affecting our lives. But I looked on Vox.com, and they were talking about various things that we can do in terms of to better this kind of trajectory that we seem to be heading down. So as Anissa said, they were saying, number one, very much we need to have more diverse people in the room. Also, we need to collect wider data. So they're saying all AI information has to be trained. They have to input data. And they're saying one of the issues that we're having at the moment is that you can only have data in the past. It's never current data. It's always fed old data. So what we need to be doing now is collecting much more diverse data for future AI systems so they have something to run it up against. Also, they were saying that we need to start thinking about AI as not just something that you teach people in science. So saying if you're looking at like tech companies like MIT in America, they very much have the people doing the science degree or computer science learning how to do AI. But they were saying it needs to be spreading over to humanities, to psychology, to business, all these other areas, so we can think holistically about how do we now have AI that is working on all these different levels. If it's going to be doing things in terms of our psychology, how do we do that ethically? How do we do that morally? How does it work in humanities? Not just seeing it as something science-based. And something that really stood out to me as well, I know I'm saying a lot, but I feel very passionate about this, guys.
Go ahead.
Not letting AI make social and ethical decisions, because they're like, an AI system can work out the rate at which someone is probably likely to reoffend. They said it can do that based on like a prisoner. But what it can't do is say whether this person now deserves to be let free based on maybe changing their life around. It just works on inputted data of thousands of other people who have probably committed similar crimes and come from similar areas and are of a similar race. But it can't actually make an ethical, moral decision based on this person and how they might have changed their life around. And when we start to use AI to make human decisions, it can make reasonable decisions, but it can't make decisions based on an actual living, breathing organism. They're like, we need to have people coming back into the mix of this. And guys, honestly, like I worry sometimes about where our world is going.
Human beings. We're so complex as human beings. I hate that AI is. I just hate that, like, it's taking over, because I find with things like AI and technology stuff, it's so black and white. But humans, we live in the grey area, baby.
Yeah,
it's so true.
We do. And they're saying
it's controlling our lives.
It's so true.
I was going to
say, this is why Will Smith was pressed in iRobot when the robot saved the little girl instead of him, remember? Do you remember?
No, saved him instead of the little girl.
Yeah.
It saved him instead of the little girl.
Film. It's a great film. You should watch it. It's gonna. Is it even? Sophie, is that film set in 2010 or 2020? Or I think it's still set in 2010.
No, it's a lot further in the future, I'm sure.
Are you sure?
You're actually being serious. No, it's it's set much further. Anissa,
are you sure? Because we already passed the Back to the Future date. That already happened. Are you sure
that was made like 30, 40 years ago? So no, we have definitely not passed that. I guess the point I'm making is, guys, these AIs were made in labs. They were made in perfect scenarios with some men inputting data. And as Anissa said, they weren't actually made for the complexities of real life. So we need to start rolling it back and putting it through some very, very thorough testing systems, not doing it against, it's tested on 2,000 people. You need to be doing it, in the Guardian article said, against hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions of people. So you can actually get enough data to be doing AI intelligence or predictions for a world which has like 8 billion people. Man. Okay.